Basically, some people in a dark back room conspiring as to what they're going to do in secret. These are most of the time rather open agendas. The people perpetrating them actually will admit them in private or among themselves in many of their speeches and in some of the articles they write. But when confronted directly about what their goals are, will usually deny it and ridicule the person doing it. One of the things ongoing you have seen, the arguments that we're having over Black Lives Matter and Confederate flag and all of these things in this country, are due to a lack of understanding about history. You know, if we go back to 1946, I just love these quotes. The National Education Association Journal published an article called "The Teacher and World Government." Now, in 1990, when you started talking about the New World Order, you were a kook. However, if you realize that the power elites and the education elites have been talking about global government for quite a long period of time. The article, "The Teacher and World Government" by Joy Elmer Morgan, he was editor of that journal from 1921 to 1955. And what he said is, quote, "In the struggle to establish an adequate world government, the teacher can do much to prepare the hearts and minds of children for global understanding and cooperation. At the very top of all of the agencies which will assure the coming of world government must stand the school, the teacher, and the organized profession." Perhaps what's even more interesting when we talk about the success or failure of, for example, education, from the minds of the elites, education has been a success. We are transforming the culture from a capitalistic, free market, free idea culture to one based on consensus, collective thinking in a socialist model. That was their goal. And you can trace that all the way back to the 20s and 30s. That of the original founders like John Dewey and all of the people who have succeeded them. In 1946, in February, the journal Psychiatry carried an article written by the head of the World Health Organization, Brock Chisholm, who was a close friend of communist Alger Hiss, who was responsible for the establishment of the United Nations in large order, in which he writes that in order to achieve world government, it is necessary to remove from the minds of men their individualism, loyalty to family tradition, national patriotism, and religious dogmas, and that a program of re-education, or a new kind of education, needed to be charted whereby the science of living should be made available to all people by being taught to all children in primary and secondary schools. Only so can we help our children to carry out their responsibilities as world citizens, as we have not been able to do. Why is that? We have swallowed all manner of poisonous certainties fed us by our parents, our Sunday and day school teachers, our politicians, our priests. The reinterpretation and eventual eradication of the concept of right and wrong, which has been the basis of child training, the substitution of intelligent and rational thinking for faith in the certainties of the old people, these are the belated objectives for charting the changes in human behavior. What's he telling you right there? But if we're going to get to the idea of world government, we have to remove, and he didn't quite mention here, but the history in the minds of the people, the history of their country, their loyalty to their own worldview, to their patriotism, and also to their religious dogmas. We have to get rid of all of that. That's what the purpose of school is all about, as Joy Elmer Morgan said in The Teacher and World Government and the National Education Association Journal. So that was the goal set early on in the 1930s and 1940s, and you are seeing the fruit of it today. And where the battle is waging thick is in the battle for freedom of thought and of speech, because those people, or some of their immediate descendants ideologically, are seeking to shut down people who are dissenting from the new counterfeit worldview, which has come in and tried to substitute its own mind for that of freedom. And that is where you and I are involved in this battle. And this one will determine the entire future of Western society. Because if you can shut people down simply by using epithets and trying to deal in cliches, which say absolutely nothing, which is what the politically correct crowd are trying to do today, you can prevent the moral and financial bankruptcy of your own political ideas from being exposed. Not because you argue them successfully, but because you prevent the other side, the people arguing with logic and reason, from arguing against you. That's where it is. And the future of freedom is on the table right now, even in the name of small causes which may have nothing to do with it. We're at SteelOnSteel.com. I'm John Leffner. The program is